Marseille hosts Spurs. Let's talk about this one first. The French side, they're plus 200. Spurs are road favorites plus 130. The draw here is plus 240. Of course, these odds are coming to you from our friends at Bet365. You and I, more than Anthony, who is a Spurs fan, you're an Arsenal fan. So this is funny that I think you and I are higher on Spurs than Anthony generally is. Paid off this past weekend when they got a wonky win against Bournemouth. I like Spurs here. I think this game kind of plays into their hands. They're, we talked a little bit about this with Atleti and it didn't pay off there, but there are very few managers who I think handle these kind of situations better than Diego Simeone or Antonio Conte, where it's you need to grind out whatever result you need. They will set their team up to do so.
Yeah, I don't know if Conte is going to be on the sidelines because he got the red card at the end. So, I mean, I'm sure he'll have his team set up, the way they need to be set up. So I don't really think that that can be that much of a, disadvantage to not having Conte on the sidelines. But yeah, I'm actually glad Anthony's not on this podcast so we can actually talk through this without him just poo-pooing everything we say because Kulusevski's out. But the reality is that Tottenham against Sporting in their last Champions League match, like they went behind early. And then from then on, they were the better side when they had to kick it into high gear, right? So they ended up, it was 1.7 to 0.7 on XG. They obviously had the goal VAR'd off at the very end, which is why Conte got the red card, screaming at the referee, screaming some obscenities at him. Then you look at this last weekend, Bournemouth scores 2 goals off of a couple low quality chances, and Tottenham has to kick it into high gear, and they end up creating over 2 expected goals, scoring 3 and getting a nice road win. Now we have a match where, this price is too cheap on Tottenham. Like we can sit here and say like there are problems with Tottenham. Like, I don't know, like I'm not so sure about the way they're playing right now, but plus 135 on the road at Marseille, it's just far too cheap. If you look at Marseille in the Champions League, it's kind of funny. There's really only 2 matches we can like glean from because the first match against Tottenham, they got a red card late in the second half. The 2 matches against Sporting got red cards inside the first 20 minutes. So you can't really glean anything from those 2 matches. So we have 2 matches against Frankfurt where they lost both of them and they deserved to lose both of them. They only created 1.4 expected goals total at a little over 30 touches in Frankfurt's penalty area combined over the 2 meetings. So, and the other thing I like to say is, okay, the first time these 2 teams met, Tottenham was minus 200 on the money line. I like to say 50 cents on the money line is where what home field advantages is in the Champions League. So essentially what you could say is like, all right, from that point on to this, like Tottenham should be even money. So now the market's telling like, no, Tottenham's actually gotten worse since that point that they faced Marseille, which is kind of true, I would say, like, but not to this extent of 35 cents on the money line. And then also, if you look at it, these 2 teams have they have the exact same expected goal differential in their domestic leagues. Tottenham's at plus 6.8. Marseille is at plus 6.8. The difference between between England and France is a full goal, that the way I project it. And then if you, obviously if you give a little bit of home field advantage to Marseille, so right there, you're saying, okay, Spurs should be about, minus 0.75 really, or even close, so I have them projected at minus 140. So I think this price is far too cheap on Tottenham, plus 135. Plus they have to win it, right? Because Sporting's sitting behind them. They have the tiebreaker over them. If Marseille ends up beating them, well, then they completely jump Tottenham, they could scoreboard watch. But that's a dangerous game to play. So they have to go for this. And the other thing you could say is like they have Liverpool on deck, but you have to focus on the Champions League and you got to get through. So I like Tottenham plus 135. I'm with you.
Yeah, that point you made about Marseille, they need to win, right? Marseille has no choice.
So Tottenham can sit deep, right? They can just sit deep and they can just counter them.
That's what you want at a time. So like that's what I'm saying with Conte. Like, yes, he's not gonna be on the sideline, but we know who's managing this game, right? Like it's gonna be an Antonio Conte team.
He'll have a microphone, he'll have an earpiece, and he'll be relaying everything.
Bobby Valentine.
Don't worry.
But yeah, there's this. I just think the situational spot. A lot of times we say with Tottenham, like handicapping them is so much more like an art than a science because so much comes down to stylistic kind of matchups. And this one just really, really begs you to bet on Spurs, even as a road favorite. So I like Spurs at plus 130. I'm with you. I'm sure Anthony, we're lucky not to have Anthony here to throw cold water on us.
Yeah, he'll just throw cold water, poo-poo everything and just say, oh my gosh, the sky is falling with Tottenham. When the reality is
place in the Premier League.
They've created over 2 expected goals in their last 2 matches.
A good team.
It's just a good team. Yeah.
And remember, like the hype, surrounded Tottenham coming in was like they were supposed to be
Right.
doing what Arsenal was supposed to be doing or is doing, right? Like they're
Right.
the outsider that if one of Liverpool or City fell off, who's going to gate crash it? Everyone thought it was going to be
Mhm.
Tottenham. So like that was
They're still in third place.
2 months ago. Yeah, like this is a great team still.